Greetings and welcome to American Pods, the American Gods podcast, hosted by Legion of Leia. Half of our cast is not available to us right now.
No.
One is sick.
Mm-hmm.
Mike is sick, and Brittany is still on her way home from, I guess she was in Tennessee for a con.
Yeah, she was at a Nashville convention or something.
Yeah. So she's still on her way. Like, she would have been back earlier, but there's a storm that they have to drive through,
right.
So that delayed them.
And I think she's driving through some mountains and whatnot, so you don't want to drive quick through any mountains.
You don't want to rush
Yeah.
when you're on mountainous roads.
Right.
And so it's just me and Shaun right now.
Hi, guys.
So, yeah, Shaun. My lovely co-host, Shaun.
Aww.
Now flip your hair.
Okay, there we go. It's in the wind. Woo.
Woo.
There
Okay.
we go.
So, this week is episode 6.
Yes.
Now, we had a huge argument, just before we pressed the record button. It's like, this is episode 5. It's like, no, it's episode 6.
Yeah, the season is going by way too damn fast, and it needs to slow its ass down. Is what needs to happen, or we need more episodes.
Yes and yes.
Yes. It's like, damn it! Like I can't believe that we're already up to episode 6 because that means that we're at the penultimate and then the season finale, and we're just getting into some really great meaty stuff, as displayed what happened tonight. You know, and it's just I'm so pissed about it.
You're pissed, but you're loving the episode.
Yes. Yeah. Actually.
That we're giving us.
Yeah, this episode I have a lot of love for because this was the first real moment where they said, in order for us to make content and to show kind of what's going on outside of the scope of the book, we are going to come up with a completely new scenario. And I just finished rereading the book while I was on vacation last week. So I know for a fact there is nothing of this in the novel at all.
Yeah, okay. So, I was about to ask you, was this a new character? It's like, yep,
yeah.
It totally is. So, okay, so what we're talking about is episode 6, A Murder of Gods.
Right.
And there is this wholly original character named Vulcan, and he is the Roman god of the volcanoes?
Of the Forge.
Of the Forge.
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically, he's the Roman version of Hephaestus.
Okay.
So, if I remember correctly, and you guys are very vocal when I screw up the god names, like I messed up Toph last week. My bad, sorry. The Egyptian gods, because Toph and Anubis, for some reason I always get those guys confused. But yeah, I want to say that he is the Roman version of Hephaestus, who, if I remember correctly, is the Forge god. But I might be wrong on that. But
no, you're right.
Yeah, but Vulcan is the Forge god, though, yes. Yeah. He's the one who made all their weapons.
Yeah, and this just kind of gives us a very clear idea of how gods are surviving, how certain gods are surviving in this world without the help of Wednesday. And it gives us a clear idea of how some of the gods are aligning themselves with the new gods.
Yeah, with Mr. World and his
posse.
His corporation of gods.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a good name.
Right, the corporation of gods. Yeah, the corporation. It was an interesting kind of take because as a god who forges weapons, the idea that he would go into weapons manufacturing, it seems to be a very logical jump.
It's a clear cut.
Yeah.
Like you would not have figured out, I don't know, if certain lines had not been said.
Right.
And if we just hadn't gotten the pitch last week,
right,
then you could have easily have thought that Vulcan just came up with this idea on his own.
Yeah, and honestly, if you had not seen last week's episode, Vulcan never really gets into the whole Corporation of Gods thing. Like, it's clear that that's what's happened, and it's clear that he is on Mr. World's side, at least to a degree. But, it is almost like, in my little fan fiction headcanon here, I almost want it to be a situation where Mr. World found Vulcan. Vulcan had already figured this out, and Mr. World became inspired by Vulcan. I know that has no basis in reality, but in my brain, I kind of want that to happen because Vulcan's transition from being a god of manufacturing of Bronze Age weapons and swords into a bullet manufacturer is such a logical jump. I mean, it's almost brilliant in its simplicity.
Yeah, but there's that one little hitch into your brain canon.
Yeah.
where he says they gave me a gun.
They did. There is the hitch. But in like I said, in my fan canon, I kind of like the idea that Vulcan may have stumbled across this somehow. Maybe not to this degree, but he had the idea of maybe going into manufacturing or something. I don't know. But
maybe. They were just his investors. Like, he got the idea and then he needed investors. I don't know.
Who knows?
But before we get any more into Vulcan, let's talk about the very first scene of A Murder of Gods, and that is the Coming to America vignette with Mexican Jesus.
Oh my God. I swear, like, these coming to America stories are getting better and better, and they're getting more and more just pitch perfect, and
like they're right in your face.
Yes, they're right in your face, and what's really great about them is they're not shying away from the uncomfortable, and they're not shying away from some really kind of taboo topics, especially here in America today, which is, of course, the fact that Mexican Jesus is trying to cross the Gulf of Mexico, or I'm sorry,
the Rio Grande.
Yeah, the Rio Grande, and bringing people with him. And when he gets to the American shores, he is shot down by the Minutemen.
Yeah, they're actual private citizens,
right,
who have taken it upon themselves to arm them, like to guard the border. Mexican border,
right?
And they are very well armed. And the conclusion of the scene. It is a very, how do I say, it is a very polar opposite juxtaposition of how people use faith.
Yeah.
Like with the Mexicans trying to cross the Rio Grande, they're using it in a positive way, and how we are supposed to use religion and everything. And then there's these Minutemen guys who you don't really see their faces, but you see what they're wearing. It's very obvious that they're in Texas or something.
Yeah,
because the hats. And one guy is holding his rifle as he's shooting at innocent people and children.
Yeah,
he's holding a rosary.
Yes, in his hand.
And on the side of the rifle, it says. It has part of a prayer.
Yeah, it's like a proverb or something. Yeah.
No, it's part of the the O Father.
Yeah, something along those lines. Yeah, I didn't catch the words on the side.
It was like, holy shit! Like, and this is the very obvious corrupt version of how some people hold their faith.
Right. I mean, there's something to be said. I mean, first off, I know that in America we have a really polarizing argument when it comes to. Should we allow people to cross the border? Should people be allowed to try to get jobs here? And putting the political statement aside, even if you think that we should never allow anybody from Mexico to sneak across the border or to walk across the border unless they go through stringent checks, in no way should that ever validate gunning men and women down in water. I mean, that is such a horrific act. And the fact of the matter is that the chances of this happening are far greater and more likely. And as a person who is Hispanic, it's a very scary thought, because there's this line that, you always hear where it says, oh, well, first they came after these people. And it says, well, it's not me. And then they came after this other people. And they say, oh, it's not me. And then finally they came after me. And as a person who's Hispanic, it's like, oh, well, those are the illegal Hispanics. Well, how far until, oh, the legal Hispanics need to get their hell out,
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff is a scary thought, and to see that on screen, nobody's blinking. They're not shying away from it. And you see Mexican Jesus gunned down.
Yeah, it's
sad.
It's so sad. Like, at first I was very excited.
Yes.
Because as soon as the trumpet started, it's like, oh God, we're going to get Mexican Jesus.
Yes. I mean, you and I were super excited for Mexican Jesus.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we forgot what happens to Jesus at the end of every story, which is that he has to die. So, of course, when he gets shot, he has stigmata. Yeah. And he's on the ground, and he's in a very classic repose.
Do you think that he's going to rise from the dead in 3 days?
Damn Skippy. I think that is part and parcel of this journey for them. I think that is if there was an addendum to that coming to America, it would be 3 days later, him rising out of the murky shore of the Rio Grande, and I think that would be a really great thing to see sometime in the future.
Yeah, I mean, but as appalling as the ending was, leading up to it was just... you have to be a very desperate person to want to cross into another country illegally. And like I mean, I don't know what the situation is for everyone, but there is this guy at the very end of the group who could not swim, but he tried anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like I don't know what his situation was, but he was very desperate to leave his own country and then come to another one.
And if you can't swim,
and if you can't,
and you know you have to cross the Rio Grande or some large body of water to get to this new land of the promise,
which has a strong current.
Yeah, very strong current. Yes.
At this point in time, because of the rain.
Yeah, and you're sitting there, and you know that this is going to happen. You are facing a fear so great. You know, I mean, just for that alone, it's like, give the man a green card. The man was literally willing to risk his life on something he could not, avoid. I mean, like, I felt for that guy, and so, of course, then Jesus comes in.
And then Jesus comes, like, he's, like, already under the water.
Like Superman.
And Jesus comes in, pulls him out. He's, like, already standing. And then all these people are watching this happen.
Literally, Jesus walking on the water. It made me so happy.
Well, right before they crossed the river, like, they were showing all the faces.
Yes.
And it was like, you see this, like, this beautiful man with the long hair and the beard. It's like, that's Jesus.
Yeah,
that's
you knew
Jesus.
It was Jesus immediately.
And it was Jesus.
It was totally Jesus.
And then it's like, who are you? It's like, you already know my name.
Yeah. Like, I'm serious. He's like 1 second away from being a superhero in this. I mean, seriously, right? Yeah. Like, all he needs is like a little domino mask, right? And a big J on his chest. And he's like, I am Jesus. I mean, it was really cool. It was a really wonderful moment. And I think it's also really cool the fact that they played right into the fact that Jesus, by and large, is completely a pacifistic character. He's not a person who goes for vengeance. He's here for forgiveness.
Yeah.
And up until and through his murder, he's trying to get people to come to peace. Yeah. And I like that they did that. I like that this wasn't like some kind of weird, like, in the back of my brain, I thought it was going to turn into a Robert Rodriguez movie for a moment.
Oh, gosh.
Like in Machete, where they have like Cheech Marin come in, he goes, God forgives, and he like pulls a shotgun. I don't.
My God.
I was waiting almost for kind of like that to seep in, like maybe Mexican Jesus has a little bit of an edge to him. And I'm so happy that they didn't.
Yeah.
Because I know that a lot of Hispanic aesthetics, we are polar opposites. We're very kind, and we can also be very, very hard. And I was waiting for them to pull that on him, and they didn't do it. And I was like, cool.
It's just very good. So,
yeah.
But yeah, and then to see him throw himself in front of the gunfire to save a woman who he knows is a mother because she was trying to protect her child, but the child got away, went to her father.
Right.
Then she was running to her family, and then that happened. But it was just super. It started out super cool, and then it just went to super appalling.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that the Minutemen in reality do that, but I mean, what else do you think about when you see private citizens holding guns and then kind of waiting for...
The chances of something like that happening and us never finding out are fairly high, I would imagine. You're talking in the middle of nowhere. You're talking about people who are armed, feeling like they're protecting their country, like they would protect their own yard.
Yeah.
And depending on the state that you're in, you do have sovereign domain, and sovereign domain means if somebody tries to break in your house, you can shoot them. Yeah. So, I mean, if we're talking about Texas, I guarantee you these guys are like sovereign domain, even though they're on public land. And I hope that we have better border. Honestly, I hope that we have better border protection just to stop those kind of events. Those just kind of like, people who are taking upon themselves and are shooting people.
Yeah.
And
we don't
like, know.
Realistically, we don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And we also know that we have very few people who are actually officially working
the border. Yeah.
The border. So it's
a scary thought.
Yeah.
And it makes you think about the luck that you have by being in this country, and also the fact that if somebody really wants to be here, let's find a way to make it work. I mean, honestly, that was like the big takeaway for me for this. Again, whether you're pro or against, letting illegal immigrants stay in the country, nobody should be on board of let's just shoot them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the line, right?
No.
I mean, that's the line. Everybody should be on the let's not kill them line.
Yeah.
So...
I mean, unless a gun is drawn to you, like, I mean...
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I mean, because there are people in, like, they do have a drug cartel.
So if we had the evil version of Jesus pop up with the shotgun...
If we had that...
Yeah.
But thank God they didn't.
Right. If he starts quoting machete, then...
Because, American Gods is smarter than that.
But no matter what, it was... For me, I think it hit me probably as hard as the Anansi scene hit Mike.
Right, okay.
Because it was just like, oh, wow. Because it is one of those things that, they've hinted at, which is every version of every person who's ever thought of Jesus doesn't imagine a Jesus that doesn't look like them. They imagine a Jesus that looks the way they look. So there's all these different... It's like Baskin Robbins of Jesus, right? Like, there's like 31 flavors of Jesus.
Yeah, which I really love because later in the series we get that.
Right. So, but I mean, I love the fact that we're acknowledging that we get to see that, and we also got to see, which is quite honestly probably one of the most potent figures in Mexican culture right now, specifically, which is of course Jesus Christ. So, to see that, I thought it was a really, really good modern telling, and I was really happy and also a little sad with it. Yeah. So, but that's what good art does.
Yeah,
so
it makes
I think
you feel things.
Absolutely,
all the feels. Mm-hmm. And huge shout out to the lady who was leading the group.
Oh, she was hardcore.
Yeah, she was super hardcore, and I loved her for that. Like, I think she was wearing a dog tag. I couldn't tell. Yeah, but she was definitely.
Do you know what she reminded me of, actually, was, remember during the Super Bowl a couple months back, we had seen that commercial, that Yellowwood commercial about the mother and the daughter who were trying to come to America? Oh. And the girls making an American flag out of little pieces of plastic. Like, I thought, like, that scene could have gone into this so easily, where, like, the mom finds just the giant concrete wall. Yeah. And then, like, they find the doors that are open. And I was like...
That was a really nice commercial.
Oh, I love that commercial. I thought that commercial was really, really cool. But it felt like that mom and this lady were like cut from the same cloth. Yeah. It was really like, it was almost a continuation of that story.
Yeah.
Well, right. Well, she got to meet Mexican Jesus. Yeah. So, I mean, but yeah, I mean, just, but she was awesome. I loved her. She was great.
Okay. So, I mean, I don't know where to end that, but like,
Mexican Jesus, awesome.
Mexican Jesus, awesome, and I hope he comes back in 3 days.
Yes.
To continue. I mean, that's how. I mean, he can only die once and then come back.
Don't limit Jesus. Jesus can die as many times as he wants to.
But that's the story. I mean, he only died once.
That's the story. But we know for a fact that we'll probably see him in the future, just because of the fact that we haven't seen Kristen Chenoweth yet. And Kristen Chenoweth's character is named after a very popular day in Christian culture. But that's we know she's showing up sometime this season. So hopefully they'll maybe tee that back up then.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But okay, so moving on to the rest of the episode.
Yes.
It picks up right when right after Wednesday and Shadow run away from the police department.
Right, literally, like
literally, like they're just down the road from the attacked police department.
Right,
and I don't know, like Shadow has this huge wound in his gut, and he doesn't really say anything until they finally retrieve their car and. It's like, oh yeah, I got this thing, and holy shit, there's something moving around in me.
Yeah, we screwed up a little bit last week because we talked about this.
We talked about this
because we marathoned these 2 episodes together, so people were probably like, "What the hell are they talking about?"
Yeah.
Sorry about that, guys, but yeah, there was the moment where Mr. Wood attacked Shadow.
Yeah, they actually I didn't hear it the first time we watched it, but when I watched it again, they actually named him Mr. Wood,
yeah.
And he was the god of the forest, and then
nobody believed him anymore.
Yeah, nobody believed him anymore, and then he saw an opportunity and sacrificed his trees for industrialization or something?
Something along those lines, yeah. So basically wherever his children are, he's at.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, essentially that chair was from his forest, so he was able to then sprout out of it.
Yeah, which is terrifying.
It is, actually. It's horrible. It's like, oh, God, like balsa wood everything from now on. Like, like I don't want any Mr. Wood in my house. That just... Because seriously, that knotted eye on the back of the chair
was freaky.
It's freaky.
And then sprouting out of that detective's mouth.
Yeah. It was nasty. And then, of course, this episode, you have Shadow getting the triage surgery right in front of the car, and Wednesday pulling out that gremlin baby Groot thing. You know, he throws it out, and I mean, basically, it was like evil Groot. You know, like it was not pleasant at all. And that was just probably like a splinter or something inside of Shadow, and it was already the size of like a small football.
Yeah,
it was massive.
Basically, like so far we don't like. As of right now, they're past the worst part of it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's like literally a wait-and-see moment if they had completely excised him of Mr. Wood.
Well, I think with Wednesday's powers and being a god himself, I would imagine that Wednesday would have the ability to know if there was anything left in him. You know, because, I mean, he pulled down some juju there. So I would imagine that he was able to, you know, get that secure.
Yeah.
I mean, I would hope. God, I would hope.
And seriously, how does Shadow not know there's something up with him? Already.
Oh, at this point?
At this point.
Yeah.
Because right before this actually happens, Wednesday confronts him about Laura.
Yeah.
And, like, they finally talk about how Shadow is, like, just totally distracted at the moment because his wife is, like, he got his wish that his wife is back, and now he's just preoccupied.
Right.
And, like, this is totally not what Wednesday wants at the moment. But, like, it's here, it's happening, and he has to somehow find a way to make Shadow move on. And then one of the ways to get him to begin that journey is to let him see what Laura is up to right now.
Right.
Laura is in Indiana.
Right.
And they are not.
Yeah.
They are miles, like hundreds of miles away. And when he closes his eyes and thinks about Laura, he can literally see what she's doing.
Right.
How does he not acknowledge that what just fucking happened? Because
I think the only thing that you could think of in this particular moment is if clearly the coin has magical properties.
Sure.
And since he gave her the coin, in his brain, he's probably not thinking there's something up with him. More or less that the coin maybe has created a bond between the two of them.
Okay.
Which, again, this is all circumspect BS. And I think
this
that...
is all headcanon that we've created.
Right. I mean, if you're Shadow, you're probably thinking it's something like that, where it's not you who is the special thing, it's the coin.
Or maybe he thinks he's siphoning off of Wednesday's powers, like with the snow.
Like with the snow, yeah. So there's that whole deal. And of course, then they get back to the hotel, and they just take off. They book.
Yeah. Which
Laura running behind them, having that whole moment where she's trying to catch up, and Wednesday's turned on the car radio so they can't hear it or anything.
Yeah.
That was so.
Yeah.
Badness abounds.
And I love that. I love this whole odd couple between Laura and
Matt Sweeney. Yeah.
I mean, it's not really odd couple, but you just have two assholes together.
Well, they're two
into a road trip.
Yeah, they're two very selfish people, and they're two very motivated people to get what they want, which at this particular point happens to be circled around this coin. And it's an interesting bonding, and I think it's probably one of the better pieces that has come out of the show that, in my mind, has really improved the story of American Gods, because I always hated what happened to Matt Sweeney in the book.
Yes.
Matt Sweeney, basically, and this is slightly spoiler, we're not going to get into anything too terrible, but in the book, essentially, Sweeney has one showdown with Shadow, like when he did at the bar, or not the bar, the diner that they were in, and he's essentially begging Shadow to get the coin back. And Shadow's like, I don't have it anymore, I gave it away. And so Matt Sweeney, distraught, leaves.
Yeah.
And
he's like totally depressed.
He is totally depressed. And the next time Shadow sees him, Sweeney's dead. Now, we can't talk about how all this happens and whatnot, but, you know, there's not a whole lot.
It was very fucking tragic.
It was extremely tragic. And I really, upon reflection of the novel versus the TV show, what they're doing with him and introducing just the odd couple of dead wife. That is like one of the best phrases now. I just love that he calls her dead wife. But that coupling is such a fun pairing, and seeing them, because he's right next to the thing that he wants, and the only reason she's tolerating him is because he's promising to help her come back to life.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. I love this. And I'm assuming that since he's close to the coin, bad stuff isn't going to happen as badly. Ish.
Yeah.
Like, maybe?
I mean, his luck when it might be a proximity thing.
Yeah, maybe.
It's
playing down his bad luck, maybe a bit.
But it's playing down his bad luck,
right.
But he has to always stay vigilant, I should say.
Yes, because again, we've seen what happens in the future, and stuff happens.
We have future vision.
We do. We have future vision. We can look into the future. We could see where the coin will be, just like Shadow. But no, there is such a great thing about expanding Matt Sweeney from the novel that I love everything they're doing for it, and I hope that they continue to do that, because I would hate to have a moment where he finally just gives up and disappears, and the next time we see him, he's dead.
Yeah,
I don't want
no
that.
Bueno.
No bueno at all.
No,
I really hope it doesn't happen.
We also get to see a character we hadn't seen in a couple episodes, Salim.
Yes, we do.
Laura has come back to the motel to look for her car
right.
because she needs to chase after Wednesday and Shadow.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been towed by the police because they thought she was dead.
By the way, can we just talk again about how awesome it was that Laura's the best at playing dead and nobody could figure it out?
Yeah.
Oh my god! That every time that I watch that moment, it reminds me of Dead Like Me. Not Dead Like Me. Death Becomes Her.
Oh,
where Meryl Streep goes, and I can play a corpse better than anybody. Just I love that moment, and I love that we get to see Laura just completely screw Sweeney that way. It's just great.
Oh man!
But yeah, so her car is obviously gone because
her car is gone. It's out of the picture.
Right.
So she and Matt Sweeney try to get a car.
Right.
Hilariously so. It's like, let's pick this one. It's like, no, I don't know how to jerry-rig the alarm. The alarm doesn't work for me on that one.
Right.
This car, on the other hand, this yellow cab in front of me,
right.
I can deal with.
Mm-hmm.
And, Salim comes out with a gun pointed to his head. It's like,
right.
Stop stealing my car, please.
Yes. So, the nicest please don't steal from me ever in the history of, TV, right? Like, people come out, you can't steal my car. And Salim is just, please don't steal my car.
Yes, and it's such a polite fucking guy.
Such a polite guy.
Language.
Yes.
Me all the time. Just F-bombing.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's like, in the next question, and the next thing he says, like, did you say you're a leprechaun?
Right.
It's like, maybe?
Yeah.
What'd you hear?
Well, I think it was really cool because, again, it's something that never gets played up again because those vignettes of Coming to America are exactly that. They're just vignettes. They don't tie to the main story.
Yeah.
And to have Salim step out of a cameo appearance into an actual supporting cast member, maybe albeit a starring role as the seasons go on,
maybe
is awesome.
Hope so.
I hope so. I really do.
He's so sweet.
He is, and I love that he has a common goal. Hey, if I give you guys a ride where you're trying to go, you'll help me find my friend with the flaming eyes.
Yeah. And
I love that because, of course, Sweeney knows exactly where he's going, and he's holding on to that like a little dickweed. Because that's who Matt Sweeney is.
Yep, he's a dick.
Yeah, he's a dick.
But Salim is so precious.
Mm-hmm.
He's just, because he knows that gods exist in this world,
right?
Because of his contact with the jinn,
mm-hmm.
that he's taking this whole other gods exist rather well.
He's rolling with the punches pretty well, yeah.
Yeah. And and Laura is still trying to wrap her head around it, even though she's literally a walking corpse.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, she's heard that there's a djinn out there. She knows that there's leprechauns. She met Anubis. She's a walking corpse. Technically, she met Toph. I mean, well, she didn't technically. She did meet Toph. She's met all sorts of weird deific creatures. Mm-hmm. But in her brain, it's just not quite Does not compute yet, which is an interesting place to be for her character. Mm-hmm. Because, like you said, Laura doesn't get a lot of expansion in the book. So this allows her to really start to play with the idea of what equalizes her. How do we get there? And to see her kind of making relationships and growing as a character has been very interesting to see. So, yeah.
And what was it? They needed to go to... Well, for some reason, Sweeney wants to go to Kentucky.
Yeah. Well, they're trying to go to the rock on they're trying to go to the rock on the mountain.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah,
and it's in Kentucky.
Yeah. And they start to have their little road trip of shenanigans.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which carries on for an episode.
Well, yeah, it carries on for an episode. But in this episode, they're on their way to Kentucky, but they were having this conversation of when Laura just kind of realizes that she's not going to see her family again.
Right.
Like, not as she is right now, because, she's dead.
Yeah.
And she, even though on the outside she says, I'm never going to talk to my mom again or eat her cooking, thank God for that.
Right.
She has this, like, little moment to herself where it's like, fuck.
Yeah.
And then she goes to Indiana to her, I guess, childhood home, which, holy shit, that is a huge house, by the way. And she just kind of sees her family gathered together, and her mom's, like, super depressed because I guess it's still raw in her.
Well, I mean, you got to remember, this is what, maybe a week and a half after?
This is just a few days after she's actually died.
Yeah, I mean, she's not been dead a month yet, tops. I mean, there's no way. I mean, literally, we're talking, she died. It was 3 days later. Shadow gets out of prison. He's probably been on the road now for the better part of a week or so. So, I mean, you're talking 10 days since the death of your kid.
Yeah.
The mom's not in a good place.
Yeah, the mom's not in a good place.
Right.
And it's just, I guess there's this one point where she realizes that she can't, like, the breath is not showing up on the glass. Like, and Shadow points this out because he's actually seeing this scene happen hundreds of miles away. And, like, she's not fogging up the glass because she has no breath. And, she's really sad about it.
Yeah. And there's something interesting about this moment where you have the potential to go back to your former life. You can actually go back and say, hi, I'm still here. I still exist. Which, if you ask any person who's ever lost somebody close to them, they would say, for anything, they would give up, no matter how much, to have that one last moment with a loved one who's no longer with them. And yet, when it's staring you in the face, literally through a window...
Like, would you actually want that?
Would you actually want that? And, I think that some people instinctively want to say yes, but if they came back and they were dead, and they were not, zombies, but they were just dead.
And they looked as haunting as Laura does right now. Because that paint that Anubis put on her is just kind of wearing off.
Yeah.
She had to be stupid and take that bath. But,
Yeah.
And then I think it was later on... Because I know my brain is jumping around a little bit in this
episode, yeah. Because you're keeping Vulcan all as one big piece right now. Yeah.
But it's just they go back to that crocodile bar, and they just kind of talk about how Laura, she still doesn't have this I don't give a fuck what anyone thinks about me attitude.
Yeah.
But Sweeney is, like, reminding her, is like, yes, you really need to care what people think of you right now because A, you're dead.
Yeah.
B, you smell like death.
Yeah.
And C, Shadow knows you're dead and he doesn't really want to have much to do with you anymore.
Yeah, that was the whole argument of, well, no, we kissed. And he's like, well, did he kiss you or did you kiss him?
Yeah.
And there's this moment where, he flips the table on Laura and he says, this isn't something that Shadow wants. He goes, did he really want you there? And she knows the answer. The answer is no, he didn't.
Yeah, and just like how did he taste, and what do you think he tasted back?
When you kissed him, yeah.
And it's like, did it taste like cigarettes and death?
Yeah. What was it? Bile, cigarettes, and there was something else.
It was cigarettes and vomit.
Yeah, cigarettes and vomit, and it was just like, what do you think he's going to smell like? Or taste like? Yeah.
Because, as soon as they kissed, like Sweeney pointed out very correctly, that reality just hit him when they kissed.
Yeah.
It's like, she is dead. This is not the Laura that he knew.
Right. And on some level it is.
On some level it is.
But she's still dead.
Not really.
Yeah, she's still dead, yeah.
Yeah. And
yeah.
And I'm going to jump around again, and it's like Wednesday said something very... He said it very quickly, and it's like, it was very directly talking about what Laura is, like how Laura is approaching her agenda now. And like, she is very much kind of like a wraith who is very singular-minded in her mission.
Right.
And her mission is Shadow, trying to get back to him.
Right.
But like when she's finally succeeded in that, or not necessarily she, but this ghostly figure will just move on once they've succeeded.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it kind of implies that this might be something she's going to do as well.
Well, I mean, in the episode and also in the book, the idea is that Wednesday knows that when the specters of the dead come to visit you, it's because they need to finish something in their life. Something was not yet completed.
Yeah.
And so until they're able to close that chapter, they're going to haunt you. And he was like, the best thing you can do is figure out what it is, give it to them, and get them the hell out of your life.
Yeah.
Because they will torture you because they remind you of the thing that you lost.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that person is really back. It's that they are the specter of the thing that you want. But once it's actually in front of you, you're like, oh, this is bad.
Yeah, that's much better explained than what I just said.
Yeah. And I mean, if you extend that even one point further, Laura's whole motivation in the novel is, let me get back to Shadow. And then Shadow says, well, what do you really want? She says, I want to be alive again. And so the whole motivation in her book is, hopefully Shadow can find a way to bring her back to life. And then, of course, by the end of the novel, there's another option, which is, well, can Shadow grant absolution and death? So there's this parallel that's going on. So right now, Laura very desperately is trying to figure out, can I be brought back to life for real? Or is this Laura's journey on finally accepting her death? And it's an interesting problem that she has. And it plays very closely to why she cheated on Shadow, why she is so fair weather with her relationships, and why she has such a hard time not doing the selfish thing, because she's looking for life. She's looking for something that make her feel alive, and also to be in a relationship who feels alive with her. And as we've seen with Shadow, he's kind of shut down.
Yeah.
And the implication is that he's always been shut down. And so even now, as he's starting to come alive in this realm of gods, it's a moment of realization that her death and all this stuff is what's causing it. So there's a lot of complex nuances kind of occurring right now in their dynamic. And I'm really interested to see how much we expand on that.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, dude, you could finish out their relationship really fast, and I would hate to see that. I would love to see... You know what I would love to see? I would love to see Laura actually come back to life at one point. And then choose, this isn't what I wanted. She kind of gets it in the book, but it doesn't quite work that way.
Yeah.
But yeah.
She at one point, she does try to move on, but...
Yeah, she almost makes it back to life at one point.
Yeah.
But I would actually like to see her become alive again and realize this life no longer holds value to me.
Yeah.
I would love that.
It would be very... I would love to have her... Mad Sweeney, because every time I think about Mad Sweeney, I want to say Ginger Minch, and I almost said it.
Ginger Minch?
That's what she calls
No,
him.
I'm with you, but I just, okay.
No, it's like, because I almost keep saying Ginger Minch, but...
Because you just love the name?
I just needed to get it out of my system.
Okay, fair enough.
But I kind of want Salim to stick around longer.
Yes, absolutely. I want...
because his outlook, because he's had such a positive experience, let's just say,
with the deities,
with gods,
yeah,
so far, and all he thinks about is that how his life before meeting the Jinn was just terrible, and he hated everything, and then now he has this new life where he's Salim / not Salim,
right,
and he's happier, but he still wants to learn more about the Jinn himself, so he's kind of on this personal mission to find him. Kind of like how Laura is sort of on a mission to be with Shadow again.
Yeah. I mean, definitely Shadow is her Jinn. He was the vessel in which she's able to come through and experience this new version of life and the lessons therein. Yeah,
but but Laura and Shadow's relationship as of right now is like a little too toxic.
Oh God, yeah.
It's like a little too toxic, and Salim being the pure and perfect
little puppy,
little puppy,
yeah,
the actual puppy. in this episode.
Yeah.
He's just like so sweet that it's just like you're rooting for him, not necessarily for Shadow and Laura to be together again.
And I think a lot of stories need that. Some of the best stories, all of your heroes aren't really heroes. Yeah. Even the people that you are desperately wanting to be the good guys aren't necessarily all that good, which is a far more realistic depiction of how life is. You know, we're not all good, we're not all bad. We've made mistakes, we all have to live with them kind of things. And Shadow made his mistakes because he's trying to help Laura, and of course the crime that was perfect, that didn't turn out to be perfect, and all that jazz.
Yeah.
And you get somebody like Selim, who is a person who is that hope of everything we hope we can be.
And he's grateful for everything.
Yes! You know, like when he's praying, and they're like, "You're going to pray? Like, how many times a day do you pray?" He's like, 5 times. And like, every time, you know? Like, and he's grateful for it. He's grateful for the moment just to give thanks because these gifts that are bestowed upon him, you know? And there is something endearing about that. There's something just endearing about the idea that no matter what life throws at you, you still give thanks because you're alive. And I think in a modern society, we forget about that sometimes because we're so beaten down by I got to go pay this car bill. I got to take care of this, doctor's procedure. Oh God, I'm going to get, taxed for this and yada, yada, yada. There's so much minutia that weighs us down. We've just forgotten sometimes to say, holy shit, I'm alive. Look at this amazing world I get to live in, for good and bad.
And Laura, in their conversation, like in the car, they were talking about prayer.
Right.
And Laura kind of recalls how when she was a kid, she didn't know how to pray. And when she was taught to pray for something to happen in her life, to pray for something that she wanted to happen in her life.
Right.
She was taught the wants of prayer, I guess, and not specifically for just thanking the person that you're praying to.
Right.
Just for being.
The sincerity of thought.
Yeah. Yeah. Like she was taught one way, and then Selim was taught, just to be grateful for everything that he already has.
Right.
And it kind of has, there's that juxtaposition again between what we're taught in faith.
Well, I think another thing that it really shows is the fact that who is the person who lives the happier life? The person who gets everything they want, or the person who is thankful for what they have? And, and again, this is, everything about this is a commentary on American culture. I mean, this entire thing is a commentary on American culture. And American culture, especially in the last century, has been about materialism. Yeah. Get what you can get and get more of it.
And where, like, Laura eventually said, like, she does get what she wants, what she's prayed for.
Right.
But we definitely all see that she is not a happy person.
Yeah, and she still feels empty.
She still feels empty.
She felt so empty that she got into a hot tub and closed it and tried to use Raid to kill herself.
And what I think is funny is that when she's listening to Sweeney and Selim, especially Selim, talking, she's kind of still imagining herself off, like in that hot tub, spraying the git gun. Right. And it's like, still, lady? You're already dead. It's not going to work. Yeah. But, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're down a rabbit hole here, but, I mean, that's kind of the beautiful thing about these episodes, is the fact that they have a larger implication. And Selim being a person who is just thankful for the opportunity to even have this journey, it's like...
He's happier.
He's happier. He's happier that the fact that he just gets the chance to try to find the love that, he had for one night. And it's like... we all could learn a little bit from Selim. We could all learn to just be thankful for what gifts are given to us and to not always see the bad. And especially in our anxiety-ridden travels these days.
He was persistently happy even though everyone kept shitting on him.
Yeah, you find a way to find your happy. And you find a way to realize and say, look at my friends and look at my house and look at, my dog who likes to bark in the middle of your podcast. And, and look at all
getting cut.
Right. And look at all the beautiful things that are happening, not just all the things that are annoying. Because the annoying things, man, no, the dog's not annoying. I love my dog.
Like actual Laura, like
my wife, who's also named Laura, is making stabby faces if we're talking bad about the dog.
It's like, I'm not going to actually cut your dog, no. Laura. It's like, she's just getting cut from this episode.
Okay, well, speaking of getting cut, I think we need to get to Vulcan.
Oh, like did he? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we need to talk about Vulcan.
Like, did he get like? Oh, yes, yes, he did. Yeah. So we finally get to meet another god,
right?
And on this kind of recruitment tour that Wednesday is taking Shadow.
Yeah.
And what is it, Virginia?
I think it was Virginia. I do believe it was. I'm almost positive you're right. It was Virginia.
Like they go to a state. I'm pretty sure it's Virginia.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section, please. Because I like interaction and I like to be called on my bullshit. But if you're a jerk about it, I'm gonna blow it back right at you. Yeah, I think they go to Vulcan City.
Yeah.
Which is essentially what it's like literally called.
It's called Vulcan. Yeah.
Yeah, it's called Vulcan, and we're introduced to Vulcan in a bullet manufacturing company, and
I love
Come
this.
On Get Happy plays in the background. Like, everyone loves their damn job for some reason. Like, they're in a literal furnace and they love their job.
Right. and you have, like, the world's #1 boss walking around with this coffee mug. And
he's got world's greatest boss coffee mug, and he's walking around doing his checks, and everyone's giving him a high five.
Right.
Everyone's smiling. And then he's walking through a catwalk above, like, vats of molten metal.
Yeah, molten lead, basically. Yeah.
Molten lead. And he, is just saying hi to his employee, and he just happens to lean on the railing, and it gives away.
Yep.
And he falls into the vat. And is like, oh.
And he's just sitting there looking surprised as he's melting. And that was disturbing.
Yeah.
That look of surprise, and then when he hits it, it's just like you see everything melt. It was gnarly.
It was awful.
And then we continue to see the bullets getting made.
Yeah, and then we see the bullets getting made and boxed up, and it's like, that guy is in there.
Yeah, there's a piece of that guy.
There is a person in these bullets.
Which really sets up how this whole system for Vulcan works. And it's something that they've been hinting at, which is, Wednesday has hinted at the fact that gods need tribute. There is an exchange, a power exchange between the worshipers and the worshipped. And the idea is that you don't make it a one-way street. You don't just worship without return.
Yeah.
And so what's really cool is that this is kind of Wednesday's ultimate kind of Eden here, because the town of Vulcan, it's a prospering town. Everybody's happy. Everybody has a job. Everybody is going to work. And every once in a while, somebody has an accident that claims their life, which appeases the god, which keeps the town flourishing.
Yeah. But it's I don't know, it's that town in particular is very cultish.
Very much so. I mean, like, when they're driving through the town, and there's, like, the old lady on the rocker with her shotgun, and, like,
God.
Oh my God.
It's like, and everyone's wearing, like, uniform black or whatever.
Yeah.
Like little overcoats.
I mean, seriously, like, all we needed was, like, a swastika or a bunch of Confederate flags rolling
I mean, they might as well.
Yeah, basically. I mean, we were, like, one hair away from that. It was...
I mean, weren't they wearing the Vulcan symbol?
They were. They were wearing the Vulcan symbol,
They had armbands.
Yeah, it was ooky. It was ooky.
And I guess every time that someone dies in the factory, they have tribute parades.
Mm-hmm. Like for the fallen.
For the fallen.
Like, just what?
It was like,
Yeah, this was a really weird moment. There is a moment like it in the book. With a town called Lakeshore, and I hope they don't cut anything from Lakeshore out.
I hope they bring Lakeshore.
They better bring Lakeshore into it. But Lakeshore has a very similar kind of setup premise-wise.
Yeah.
And I like the idea of us seeing kind of a preview of what we might get later on, because this one is all about how Vulcan uses the factory to do this, and Lakeshore has like a similar MacGuffin, but it's a whole kind of different setup as far as like how it works.
Different setup.
Yeah, there's a way different setup on how they work, but the end result is the same: is that this town is prosperous.
Yeah.
Which is really kind of cool. And I think that with the idea of Vulcan making this place its own little private kingdom, his own little private heaven, it was so brilliant to kind of introduce that concept so early on.
Yeah.
Because he's not going to be the only one to figure this out. There are going to be towns all over America where gods have set up. Like, I mean, and I know there has to be one. I don't know one off the top of my head, but, like a cornucopia god, who basically, like, their entire town is all about bread making, right? Like, like Little Debbie is in their town. And so, like the god of Little Debbie, basically, right?
Oh
like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, like, the town is always prospering because every once in a while somebody falls into a vat, and then your cinnamon rolls are, you know,
no!
yeah, right. You know,
I bet it happens in Vermont.
Right?
I don't know. That just came into my head.
Yeah, something crazy. The Vermont syrup, right? So somebody falls into the syrup vat, you know. Courtney really liked that idea.
She likes that idea. Are you in on it, dog?
Yeah, the dog is clearly in on the Vermont syrup conspiracy. But I think that just the idea that these little towns that are for some reason prosperous, for no reason other than it just is.
Yeah.
And you can introduce these little deities sprinkled across the country, and everybody has their own gimmick.
Yeah.
That right there is like an entire season of TV they could do. Like just Shadow meeting all these different little towns and stuff.
Yeah.
All day long.
But it's very, I don't know, that town was scary.
Oh, that town was
especially
freaky.
if you're a black man.
Yeah, oh man.
Because there are strong implications that this is one of those towns where, if you're not white, beware.
Yeah, I mean, not to say it in any horrible way, but the vast implication is Darky go home.
Yeah.
I mean, it all but has, colored fountains on the side of the street.
Which I find a little odd,
yeah.
But, I mean, my brain has been trying to explain this away. Like, there was a black person working in the factory.
There was, yes.
Like, maybe he just lives in a different town and doesn't have to drive through Vulcan streets.
He just works there?
He just drives around it and finds some back road into his place of work.
And you know what? I think that's because we're unfairly, well, I mean, not necessarily unfairly, but I think that we're putting our stereotype of what we think of Virginia. Like we think of Deliverance and stuff like that. We're adding our own mental, projections onto it. I mean, people who love guns is not delegated to any one specific race. I mean,
but when everyone carries a gun, carries a gun, not just a gun, a rifle.
Straight up rifle.
They're all rifles.
Yeah, it's true.
And they're wearing, black coats with red armbands, and they have, just death stares all the time. Like, no one's happy in that town.
They don't like strangers.
Like, and they have death parades. Just very solemn death parades where, like, at the very end, after Vulcan is done speaking, they point their guns in the air and shoot off. Just like
a rally, yeah.
Like a rally!
I know what you're dancing around it. You're trying so hard. It's okay. You can say it like a rally.
Like a freaking rally.
Yeah, it's creepy.
Rally has such a negative, scary connotation now.
It does, yeah.
For the past year.
Yeah, it's a little creepy. But again, they didn't shy away from it. They
didn't shy away from it. It's very in your face, and it's definitely speaking to a certain type of people.
Yes, and it's definitely speaking towards America's obsession with guns. This whole episode is about America's obsession with guns.
Yeah.
And the worship of gun, and how when we have it in our hands, we can justify it through almost any means.
Like, Vulcan would not be as prosperous in any other country than
right.
Here.
Exactly, right? And so, of course, then Wednesday tries to pitch him. Wednesday's trying to pitch Vulcan, who is clearly just doing gangbusters.
Yeah. And it's like, but like, through certain double phrases that Wednesday has, he knows that something is up.
Right.
Like, he can see it. He sees it when he's driving through.
Yeah.
And he sees it, like, when his pitch isn't exactly working.
Yeah. Well, this actually indicated something that we see a little bit later on, which is the idea that just because the gods are getting tribute doesn't necessarily mean the gods themselves are the ones who are prospering from this fully. People aren't necessarily worshiping Vulcan, they're worshiping the bullet.
They're worshiping the bullet that has Vulcan's name on it.
Right, and he's able to get, kind of like a shotgun high off of it that keeps him going, but it's not necessarily his worship.
Yeah.
And it's this piecemeal, I'm kind of surviving, because one of the big kind of underlying themes in American Gods, the novel, is gods don't grow well in America. This is true. This is not a land for gods.
It's true, and like what Wednesday wants is for everyone to actually know that they exist.
Right.
Like that, I mean, if he didn't want that, then he definitely would have merged with the new gods.
Right. And of course, Mr. World in the Corporation of Gods is trying to work within the current infrastructure that America has.
Yeah.
Which is, okay, well, we can't get worship directly, but we can still survive very well through, this kind of
the energy that they're giving.
Yeah. And through that kind of bargain, Wednesday's able to at least con Vulcan into giving him a weapon worthy of war. Which, okay, first off, I'm like, that was a great con. Just how he works, Vulcan over. Just like, well, okay, if you're not going to join my side, can you at least give me a weapon that I can use to kill that side, right?
Yeah,
Come on,
yeah.
And Vulcan, knowing that he's not necessarily in the right, still is like, well, okay, I'm not going to join you, but I'll be a bro.
Yeah.
Which ultimately was the worst thing he could possibly have done.
Oh gosh. But, I mean, I don't know. Like he wanted to appear neutral. Like he wanted to appear neutral.
Nobody can be Switzerland in this war.
Yeah. But just like you can't.
Right.
But yeah, I was kind of wondering why he decided, if he was truly on the New Gods side, which he is, by the way, kind of.
Yeah.
So I was kind of wondering why he was made that sort of anyway.
Well, I think honestly it's because of the fact that he still wishes he had worship the way he used to. And I think because he's trying to be Switzerland, he's trying to play both sides. I'm with the new gods, but if the old gods work out, I gave you a really cool sword. Okay. He's trying to find that, he's trying to weave that middle as best he can, which ultimately is his undoing, because Wednesday says, look, Vulcan was working with the new gods, and yet just by talking to me, they executed him. And of course,
that's the official story.
That's the official story. The official story is that Wednesday's pissed off that his offer's not taken and decapitates a brother.
Yeah.
But
with his new sword.
With his new sword. I love Shadow's reaction there. Shadow's reaction of, what the hell did you just do?
It's like, did you just kill a god?
Did you just kill a god in front of me? Like,
and then Wednesday makes Shadow take the sword.
Yes. Like, hold my baby. Like, just, what?
Like, please hold this while I piss into the vat that he just fell in.
He pissed into the lead, people. It was baller as fuck, okay?
And it's like, what are you doing? It's like, I'm cursing the shit out of this right now.
And all those bullets made out of that vat are misfiring bullets. They're all going to misfire.
I kind of hope that we hear like little reports in the background that these bullets are just just faulty, defective bullets.
So this is my theory of what's going to happen. Hopefully, if they do it the way I hope they do it, just like you're saying, in the background, we'll hear on the radio somewhere that a record number of bullets are not working or whatnot. And then later on, you're going to find out that Vulcan Enterprises folds because of this huge faulty issue. And the reason why, of course, is that it's now been cursed by Wednesday, and there's no god there to sustain the juju anymore.
Yep.
People move their business to other gun manufacturers.
Yep.
So because of the death
of... That town is going to fail so hard.
Yeah, so we're going to hear these stories about how this town used to be prosperous only a year ago, and then how it's completely become decrepit and everybody's left. I mean, it's almost worth them coming back like in season 3 and showing just how shitty this town has become. They have set up such an interesting dynamic here where we could see pre and post, kind of effects of Wednesday's travels. I would love to see this. Mm-hmm. I think it would be really cool to see. And what was his name? Corbin Burt.
I don't know. Like whenever I hear it, I was like, Corbin Dallas? No,
it's not. It's like Corbin Burnson or something like that. But he played a great Vulcan. If I'm messing up his last name, but he was such a great Vulcan. I thought.
You know what? I just remembered something that he said, and the American Gods has not been very coy about Wednesday's true identity.
Not anymore.
After
last episode, they just kind of blew the lid off it.
No, but if you didn't get the hint last week,
right,
then you definitely should be taking it now.
Didn't they call him Allfather in this episode?
No, they called him Grimnir.
They did. They called him Grimnir. Okay, yeah.
and just like, if you haven't taken the hint,
yeah,
then they're just kind of smacking you over the head right now.
Right.
It's like, because Grimnir is the alternate name of, I can't say his name at the moment because of Mike, who is sick. But he's still going to edit this.
But to be fair, though, we did spoil it for him last week.
We did, but I don't know if he was listening.
I spoiled it for him last week.
He did.
I spoiled
so
it.
Hard.
I did. But, I mean, this is not...
They're not really playing coy.
They're not. I mean, they've outright said that without just saying his name. They've printed it on the side of rockets. They have given every other name that he has. You've been seeing his ravens going around, Huey and Dewey. I mean, they talked about the fact that he has one real eye, one glass eye. I mean, it's like we've all but said who this deity
like they're
is.
just dancing.
The only other guy who even comes close to this is Mike Mignolia's Hellboy. That's it. Like, and if you've ever read through like the Hellboy comics, you know what I'm talking about. And if not,
yeah,
well,
then, I don't.
then you should, because he has a lot of those similar traits after all this stuff.
Gotcha.
So like, yeah, he's got like a glass eye and stuff.
Okay.
So.
But yeah, so I mean, it's they're definitely not dancing around with that.
Yeah.
But you know what? I was just thinking that Vulcan is kind of racist.
Yeah, definitely.
A little bit. And I just wanted to say that. It's like, I don't know. It's like they really, this episode really goes out of its way to make Shadow feel uncomfortable about his pigment.
Yeah. Well, I think, again, it's something that this episode was very much about the nasty underside of some of American culture, which unfortunately is a part of us, and we have to accept that and work to not be that stereotype.
Yeah.
Everybody has stereotypes built into them. Our stereotype has been, unfortunately, white businessmen and other people taking advantage of other races, and whether it be Native Americans, black people, Mexicans, currently Hispanics, or if you're Muslim, or somebody who even looks like you're from the Middle East. There are all these different kind of problems that we have because of the fact that we have these just generic stereotypes that we're thrusting upon people, whether they are worthy of that stereotype or not.
It's true.
And unfortunately, when we do that as a nation, those stereotypes come back and bite us in the butt, because then as Americans, we're seen as people who are intolerant, pig-headed, nasty white people with guns who shoot people in the middle of a river because they're just trying to get to a better land of prosperity. So if we want
did you see that guy who was like literally kissing the sand?
Yes.
He was so grateful.
And they shot him!
They shot him!
So the lesson here is...
Don't be shitty!
Yeah, don't be shitty. Work to make that stereotype invalid.
Talk, don't shoot.
There you go. And who's the best? Like, if we want to talk about people who have learned this lesson and have totally turned it around with like a gigantic 180, Germany. All right? 100 years ago, almost literally, they were causing problems that made people go, Germans are messed up. And then 20 years later, they did it again, even worse. And then they're like, ooh, maybe we shouldn't do this anymore. And now Germany is like the freaking center of understanding and like, getting along with people and stuff. Mm-hmm. So it's like maybe there's a good thing that's going to come out of this, where we actually become a better people. So that's
hopefully.
What I hope for. Yeah.
And hopefully, like when more TV shows, like when art, when we're starting to pay more attention to art, reflecting right back at us at how this country is turning out, maybe we'll finally get it.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Without it being a criticism of you, but a criticism of how we appear.
It's true, yes. But right now, I think a lot of people, or maybe just enough, are internalizing a little bit because we're so me-focused.
Yeah.
And hopefully one day they won't be so me-focused.
Yeah. It's a difficult road.
But maybe some people just need to go after them first.
Let's not. No, I mean,
not in a violent way.
Right.
Just like policy-wise.
Right.
When like you said earlier, thank God it's not happening to me, but then it finally happens to you. It's like, oh, wait, maybe I should stop being a dick.
Right.
And, help some brothers out.
Yeah. Work towards the future you want, not towards the future you hate.
Yeah.
Yeah. But with that, should we grade the episode?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, do you want me to go first, or should I?
Yeah, you go first.
Me go first.
I want to hear you say it.
It's a bold episode to go completely off book, and there is literally nothing in this particular episode that has come from the book other than the conversation of why you should just deal with Laura and get her out of your life as soon as possible.
Yeah.
I mean, that was basically the only thing from the novel at all. And for the episode to be so strong. I mean, this is really one of the stronger episodes. I am super impressed with it, and it makes me really excited for what they're going to do about expanding this universe. Mm-hmm. Because, we talked about in the early episodes, will this work? Will they be able to expand it and make it feel like it's American Gods? And I think that without a shadow of a doubt, we can resoundingly say, yes, they can literally make a whole episode out of cloth, just nothing. and it can be amazing. So I'm going to give this one just for the sheer artistry, and also the brave look at showing us a twisted image of ourselves and saying this doesn't have to be you. And if it's not you, work to make other people not this.
Yeah.
I'd give it an A. I mean, it's the commentary alone. I loved, but then also just all the little tiny things. They really worked.
Yeah, I mean, and like they were in no way just like making fun of these Vulcanites.
Yeah, the Vulcans. We'll just call them Vulcans, like Star Trek. Yeah, they're just Vulcans.
But it's just like it, like you said, it's a twisted image looking back at you, and like they weren't trying to make a commentary. They just want you to see, heck, hey, if this goes if we get any worse, this is this is exactly what might happen.
Yeah, don't be this guy. Don't be that guy.
Don't be that guy. Yeah. Don't wear armbands and aligning yourselves with a cultish figure.
Yeah.
It's like, don't be those people.
True enough.
Because they're fucking terrifying. But like this was, like you said, a very strong episode. It has, just things staring back at you that make you actually think.
Yeah.
And it shows you the potential that they, like you said again, they can go off book and have it be really strong. So I kind of want to give this just an A.
Yeah.
Just an A.
Just a solid A.
A solid A, because it was really nice, and I hope to see more.
Yes, absolutely. And now we have to talk about the sad thing, which is that we only have 2 episodes left.
God, there are only 2 more episodes.
I know.
No.
But then we get new episodes in July, right? Like we're only gonna get like a week off, and then season 2 starts, right? Right?
Yeah, right?
No.
Damn it.
Come
on. Hopefully we get a longer season next time.
I hope so. I think
at least 10.
I think Starz is really happy with everything that's happened, and I would not be surprised if we get a longer season for season 2.
Yeah.
Especially now that they've...
not enough.
Yeah, I think that now that we've seen that they can handle expanding this universe out, I think that they'll probably give them a little more rope, and I would love to see a 10-episode season. I think minimum of 10 episodes would be great, and I mean for cable networks, I think 10 is a pretty good number for them.
Yeah,
so
I mean, especially like with the effects that they're doing.
Yeah,
and the road tripping.
Yeah,
that takes some money.
And they need to just, I'm putting my hat in the ring here, guys. If you need like a new weird location that's not in one of the novels, but you're like, man, we need to do like another roadside attraction north of the border. What was it? South of the border? North of the border? South of the border. On the border between North Carolina and South Carolina, with the giant sombrero water tower. They need to. It needs to happen.
Is this that Casa Bonita thing?
Yeah, well, they got all that. They got the golf course there and everything. They got like the alligator farm and oh my god. And one side of the street is like completely and utterly like a tourist trap, and the other side is like literally it looks like bombed out houses and so like I'm telling you, there is an American God story at that location. So guys who listen to us from Starz. All right, south of the border. I'm telling you, it's waiting for you. Season 2, make that happen.
I have like this weird question. Like I was thinking about my own side of culture, like Filipino culture, like their folklores. I only really know of the folk tales with monsters in them because that's like since Christianity popped up in that country. The folk tales have only ever been about monsters.
Incorporate the heroes, and make them all about Jesus, but then the monsters still get to populate the...
Yeah. It's like, I wonder if those type of people pop up. And then my brain went to, because it's also a Christian country now, like, does Lucifer exist?
Probably.
Since Jesus exists, and, Lucifer does have his own set of worshipers.
Remember, it's not about worship, it's also just about, do they believe it exists, period.
I know, I mean,
just the concept that people believe that Satan is a real, tangible entity.
Yeah.
He's out there somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of want to see him.
Yeah. Who knows? He might already be in the show. You never know. There are a lot of identities of people that we don't know yet. I mean, we haven't even started talking about who Mr. World is. And I mean...
And I like that we've actually met Mr. Wood.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things.
I want to know who Mr. Town and Mr. Road are.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we'll talk about them when they finally show up. But we haven't gotten
those
Mr. Town
are characters that are very interesting, especially Mr. Town.
Cool.
Yeah. Cool. And okay, that wraps up the episode. I kind of forgot that we don't have 2 more people on.
I know, right? This is what happens when it's just the 2 of us. We just go.
We just kind of get lost in our own little thoughts. But anyway, that wraps up this episode. I have a few announcements. But while I look that up, where can we find you, Shaun?
Okay, well, you can find me at ShaunCastic.com. That was my podcast that we've been doing for 7 years. This episode is being released. We're finishing up the show, actually. We're shutting it down. Because I have some ideas for some new stuff, and I have so many ideas and so little time that I don't have enough energy to keep it all going. So Shaun Castic will be going down, but of course you can listen to all of our previous podcasts there. A lot of fun stuff. And if you'd like to talk to me online, you can do so by finding me on Twitter at NumaZ or even Instagram at NumaZ, and that's spelled PNEUMAZ.
Great, awesome, and this week, the American Gods / Represent campaign have a new shirt, and it features Low Key Lie Smith. I think that's what his name.
The cellmate.
The cellmate, right. Shadow cellmate, and this one has that classic line, "Don't piss off those bitches at the airport," and so go to represent.com, go to the American Gods store. All the other previous shirts are no longer available, only Low Key.
Oh.
Yeah, I know.
I'm sad.
It bummed me out, but they have been getting a lot of support. So I can't
go get the Orlando Jones shirt now?
No, they can only make so many shirts.
Oh, that sucks so bad.
And Orlando Jones' shirt was very popular last week.
Oh, I was on vacation, you jerks! Oh my god!
And so right now, Low Key is the only one available, and it's $25.
Awesome.
And it's going to a charity of the Actor's Choice, and I should have pressed on it a long time ago, so we don't have this pause. It's going to the proceeds are going to Jonathan Tucker's the actor Jonathan Tucker's Pegasus Fund. So that's what it's in support of.
Right, because you need more horses that can fly. I mean, that's important stuff. I'm being...
But yeah, go look it up. If you like the shirt, buy that in support of the charity that he's making you aware of. And also, I want to point out that in the episode Get Gone, a lot of people were talking about the cards.
Right.
The playing cards that Laura had. And they are actually available for you to buy, and it's by the guy who made it for the show. His name is Steve Minty, and I found this on Facebook because someone shared it to me.
Right.
Steve Minty, Minty, and he had SteveMinty.com. You can look up all of his goods, plus the Anubis and Osiris playing cards that you can buy.
That's fantastic. Those cards were cool.
Yeah. They were freaking cool.
I've been thinking about it. Do you know what they could do about the t-shirt for me to make it up for me?
What?
Next season, have a Daddy Food Day t-shirt.
You're still on about that Daddy Food Day.
Hey, Daddy Food Day is going to be our thing, man. I'm going to make it a thing. I'm going to get Matt Sweeney to wear a Daddy Food Day shirt. If I have to make it and send it to him personally, it's going to happen. And we're going to get Daddy Food Day to be a thing.
Okay.
It's going to be, that is the new religious holiday.
Remind us what Daddy Food Day is?
Daddy Food Day is our version of the apocalypse. Remember that was our version of the apocalypse because we couldn't figure out the name of
Ragnarok.
No, it wasn't Ragnarok. It was somebody else's apocalypse. But we were trying to figure out,
did we ever figure out what that actual name was?
No, but it was basically just it doesn't matter what the name of the apocalypse is. This is a god that could be in any apocalypse. Daddy Food Day. So Daddy Food Day is our apocalypse now. That is the name of our apocalypse.
All right, and with that, we're gonna sign off. I am Christina from Legion of Leia, and you can find me on the internet. On Twitter, you can find me at Intro to Geek. I am the editor assistant.
You almost did it again.
I almost did it again. I'm the assistant editor of Legion of Leia, and I post all sorts of things there, sometimes inflammatory things to get people into a conversation.
You do.
Like I did over the weekend. But yeah, this was a Murder of Gods, and so I hope to see you guys next week.
And we should have Mike and Brittany back next week.
Hopefully, if one of them's not dying of the flu or anything.
Yeah, it's okay. It was only a little piece of the plague.
It was only a little piece of the plague.
Yeah,
and you know what? Mike wasn't even at the con, so I don't know how he got con crud.
Right, he got con crud by, distance.
By proxy.
By proxy. It's
by
weird.
Proxy. He siphoned that con crud from Brittany, who was at the con.
A little bit. He literally is Munchausen by proxy.
Aww.
He literally is.
Yeah.
Aww.
Our sweet summer child.
Poor guy.
And hopefully, if they're up for it during the week, we will have little bonus episodes to see what they thought of this episode.
Oh, that'd be fun.
So yeah, hopefully if they're up for it. I can't make any promises.
Right.
Because when I make promises, they fall through anyway.
Right. But you know that no matter what, we're here for you.
Yes. Exactly, because we're in the same town.
Right.
we live 20 miles from each other.
Not even that.
No, not even that, but
Yeah, it's like a 20-minute drive, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're in the woods now.
We're in the woods. All right, but with that, bye guys.
Bye.
We've been trying to say goodbye for 10 minutes.
Daddy food day for life.
Ciao, guys. This has been American Pods, the American Gods podcast. The theme song is called Life in Motion by Hike, used under the Creative Commons license.